In the decade after World War II, Europe found itself at the dawn of a new military era. The armies of NATO and the Warsaw Pact were rapidly modernizing, and tank warfare was evolving faster than ever before. Heavy armor, once considered the ultimate key to battlefield survival, was losing its relevance. New shaped charge weapons and high-velocity shells could penetrate steel that would have been thought invincible just a few years earlier. It was in these shifting conditions that West Germany faced a monumental task: to build a modern main battle tank from the ground up. The result of that effort would become one of the most influential armored vehicles of the Cold War, the Leopard 1. But to understand why the Leopard 1 was created the way it was, we must look at the mindset of the early 1950s. West Germany had only just regained the right to rearm, and the newly formed Bundeswehr needed modern equipment urgently. Their armored units were expected to confront the powerful Soviet tank forces that stood across the inner German border. The T-54 and T-55 were appearing in massive numbers, and NATO planners feared that traditional Western designs would not be enough to stop them. At first, the West German command considered simply adopting foreign tanks. The American M47 and M48 Patton were available, but they were heavy, not particularly agile, and their armor, although thick, could be neutralized by Soviet HEAT and APDS munitions. This forced the Bundeswehr to reconsider its approach to armored protection altogether. The decisive moment came when engineers and military analysts reached a bold conclusion. No reasonable amount of steel could stop modern anti-tank rounds. Instead of trying to resist a hit, the new tank should avoid one. Speed, maneuverability, observation, and firepower — these would be the true pillars of survivability. Thus began the project that would eventually become known as Standardpanzer, the standard tank. Multiple firms, Porsche, Rheinmetall, Wegmann, and Krauss-Maffei, joined the competition. Their designers explored radically different ideas, various turret shapes, hull layouts, and protection concepts. Early prototypes from Porsche were light and fast, while companies like Ruhrstahl experimented with advanced armor geometry. Rheinmetall even attempted to develop a completely new tank gun, although the clock was ticking fast. By 1958, it became clear that none of the experimental guns matched the performance of a new British weapon, the L7 105mm rifled cannon. This gun represented a revolution in tank firepower. Its high muzzle velocity and powerful APDS rounds allowed it to penetrate the frontal armor of most Soviet vehicles then in service. Accepting the L7 into the German project unlocked a new level of lethality, and from that moment, the Standardpanzer began to evolve in a more coherent direction. But the chassis also needed attention. Engineers tested several types of suspension before ultimately selecting torsion bars paired with efficient shock absorbers. This combination allowed smooth driving even at high speeds, which would become a signature feature of the Leopard family. By 1961, after several rounds of testing, the Standardpanzer prototypes were refined into a single unified design. The Bundeswehr approved it under a new name, Leopard, a symbol of speed, precision, and lethal efficiency. The first production model, Leopard 1, entered service in 1965. On paper, its armor seemed modest, just 70 millimeters at the thickest point on the front hull. But this was by design. The Leopard 1 did not aim to stop advanced Soviet ammunition. Instead, it relied on its extraordinary mobility. A compact MTU-MB838 diesel engine produced 830 horsepower, giving the tank a remarkable power-to-weight ratio. On roads, it could reach speeds of 65 kilometers per hour, and even off-road, it remained exceptionally agile. crews quickly noticed that driving the Leopard, one felt more like maneuvering a fast, responsive vehicle than a traditional heavy tank. It could redeploy rapidly, flank enemy positions, or disengage before being hit. In an era where survival often depended on not being where enemy gunners expected, this mobility became a decisive advantage. Firepower was another cornerstone of the design. The cast turret provided a stable platform for the L7 gun, which proved devastatingly accurate at long range. The Leopard's optics, especially in later variants, surpassed many contemporary tanks. Range-finding equipment and advanced sights allowed German crews to identify and engage targets before they themselves were seen. But the Leopard 1 story did not stop with the first version. Over the coming decades, the tank underwent a series of upgrades that kept it competitive even as new technologies emerged. The Leopard 1A1 introduced side skirts for added protection, and more importantly, a fully stabilized gun. For the first time, the tank could fire accurately on the move, a tremendous improvement in practical battlefield performance. Then came the Leopard 1A3, which featured a redesigned turret with flat, spaced armor plates. This structure was optimized to reduce the effectiveness of HEAT warheads, reflecting the increasing prevalence of man-portable anti-tank weapons in Cold War conflicts. But perhaps the most significant modernization arrived with the Leopard 1A5. This version incorporated a cutting-edge fire control system and a computerized ballistic calculator. With these upgrades, the Leopard 1A5 could reliably hit targets at distances where earlier tanks struggled even to acquire them. Despite its modest armor, it became one of the most accurate and deadly gun tanks of its era. Meanwhile, the Leopard 1 spread across the globe. Dozens of countries acquired the tank: Italy, Belgium, Norway, Denmark, Canada, Australia, Turkey, and many others. Each nation made its own improvements, adapting the platform for different climates, tactics, and operational needs. From snow-covered Scandinavian forests to the deserts of the Middle East, the Leopard 1 proved itself reliable, adaptable, and capable. It also saw real combat. Canadian and Danish Leopards were deployed in peacekeeping operations in the Balkans during the 1990s, where they provided crucial fire support in mountainous terrain. Later, modernized versions were used in Afghanistan, where their mobility and precise firepower proved invaluable for coalition forces. Yet despite its strong performance, the Leopard 1 was eventually overtaken by technological progress. Composite armor, thermal imaging, and digital battlefield integration paved the way for a new generation of main battle tanks. In Germany, the arrival of the Leopard 2, with its Chobham-style armor and powerful 120mm smoothbore gun, marked the end of the Leopard 1 as the nation's frontline armored vehicle. But even as it retired from German service, the Leopard 1 continued to serve around the world. Some countries still operate upgraded models today, more than 60 years after the first prototype rolled out. Few tanks in history have remained relevant for that long. The Leopard 1 stands as a symbol of a new era in tank design, an era defined not by the thickness of armor, but by the balance of mobility, firepower, and advanced technology. It showed that a modern tank could survive not by being the heaviest machine on the battlefield, but by being the smartest, fastest, and most precise. In many ways, the Leopard 1 shaped the future of armored warfare. Its influence can be seen in the main battle tanks that followed, not only in Germany, but across the world. It proved that agility and accuracy can triumph over raw mass, and that careful engineering can turn a lightweight design into a battlefield legend. Today, the Leopard 1 lives on in museums, on training grounds, and in the memories of the crews who operated it. It remains a testament to innovation, a tank born in the uncertain years of the Cold War that went on to define an entire generation of armored vehicles.